year is going. I'm happy that there's a few weeks left.
Yeah.
I know that I know I don't have a full year's grasp on how to feel by the end of the year.
Right.
But I've been working though all year in the schools.
Right. That's true.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the end of the year and starting fresh from
Okay.
my own stuff and knowledge and blah blah blah. But just
Right.
happy the end is near.
Gotcha. Yeah, so for this one, I looked, there was a lot that I can talk to you about. Hopefully I can keep it under like 15, 20 minutes. But for your reflection was awesome. So just let me know whenever you want to start.
Oh, we're good.
Okay, cool. So with the reflection on standard nine, it's a really tough one for you. And not as far as just your reflection as a whole, just because of the situation you were put in.
Hmm.
Being just taking over a health and PE position with a lot of responsibility in a school in Southeast, which is tough. And just professional learning and ethical practice is kind of tough to do towards the end of the year.
Hmm.
But you've definitely made the best of the situation, and everyone around you has got nothing but good things to say. And when I look at standard nine, I just want you to concentrate on two things: using evidence and adapting.
Okay.
You're already adapting, but the main thing as far as DCPS, which is going to like push you to being highly effective and getting those bonuses and making sure that like kids are moving forward and they understand, is using evidence. And that's with like behavior. I know that you want to, even when you're talking about tracking data, you want to talk about like heart rate, steps, and then the opinions of the students.
Hmm.
I'm on different activities. You got to use evidence. Like they want to know why you've made a change in instruction or why you've done something different. So writing something down or having data to back everything is a new push in education.
Great.
It's not whether this works with certain students because you just feel a certain way or you like this lesson or kids like the lesson. They're looking at numbers.
Hmm.
So any way you can track data and use that data to kind of push instruction is the best way possible. Um,
Can you use that with like incentive charts and things like that?
oh, definitely. That's data
Okay.
alone. If you're giving out an incentive to certain students, which students got it on certain days, monthly, you can say students are doing it on my Monday classes are behaving a little bit less than my other classes. You can look at that. Anything to switch up a schedule to separate students in certain areas, there has to be data behind it.
Okay.
Like I'll give you an example. My fourth graders, when I had Nehemiah, Makeo,
Hmm.
um, Alex, and Anton all in the same class, I had to track the data about how many fights there were
Hmm.
in that class before I can get them split up in their specials. So stuff like that, you have to track it in order to give some data to give something concrete to administration, to parents, and to explain to the kids why you're doing a certain thing.
Okay.
But first thing I just want to go through your professional learning experiences, and to be honest with you, within a year's time and less than a year's time, even working with DCPS, I see like seven things up here. The first thing was, and the huge thing for professional learning, you used your obviously your PlayWorks community professional development, which you've been doing for 2.5 years. Um, you mentioned self-help, researching outside of like the traditional professional development, which is awesome. That
Hmm.
means you're like taking your learning into your hands. You know, you're not waiting for DC or for anyone to come teach you something. You're trying to think of other strategies because if DCPS knew everything, our students would be a lot more behaved and a lot of more people would be graduating, you know. You mentioned DCPS Professional Development Day, which is always cool just to get a lot of health and PE people around each other. Um, Applying for the $10,000 grant and trying to bring Box to Turner, which is awesome. And even applying for the PEAL, which you'll probably get. And then even discussing volunteering around the school wherever you need it. So
Hmm.
that's like seven things you just noted you notice just within your professional learning experiences, which is awesome. Like you've been thrown into a situation, but you're just making the most of it, and especially volunteering outside of just the gymnasium, because that is where the relationship building starts.
Right.
The kids seeing you outside your element, and then you seeing them outside of the element in the gym, because you never notice certain things about certain kids. Like Darius Klingman is one of those, one of the kids that I can. He's in fourth grade now. He's in Mr. Moss's class, but I think he was in Mr. Scott last year. I can't remember. But Darius is one of those kids that he was a little off the wall in PE, and I didn't know. But you go up in the classroom and you watch him, and he's like a savant in the classroom.
Wow.
So it's one of those situations you definitely have to see them in different elements. Um, Using data to evaluate outcomes. It says in the beginning that you would like to learn how to best use data to evaluate outcomes. Can you like clarify what you mean by that?
So in general, like outside of the pacer and fitness tests and things like that, what type of data? But as you were explaining earlier, making records of the way the classes behave, and I'm not a humongous person. Like I never was brought up on like write ups, especially like being brand new. But I understand how that is the evidence. So when you were saying evidence, that kind of put the light bulb off in terms of data. So if I have to put things in student handbook and it's only just for documentation purposes only, that is my evidence to let them know, hey, every time I get this particular kid, they go off the charts. And this has happened, I'm putting it in, this has happened 5 classes in a row. But if I'm not putting in the data, I have no evidence.
Right, because it's literally, and DCPS has really shown me this more so than when I was teaching in Virginia. If it's not written down, it never happened.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. So it's literally one of those situations where whether it's a checklist, whether you're writing notes in a notebook, you have something in your phone you're doing, there's got to be some type of track and some type of evidence. What you need to do with the summary too? All right, go ahead and you can draw until I get in. I'm still in the conference, okay? All right. I did have 3 kind of suggestions as far as whenever you're evaluating and using data, period.
Okay.
One was to be explained why you're taking the data.
Okay.
And that's to students or any evaluator, administrator, anything. Giving the students an explanation of why you're doing something, most of them will appreciate it even more. And if they understand why you're tracking something and why you're trying to do that, they'll adhere to it more. Like, this is the reason why we're going over these rules. I'm tracking who's doing the rules to make sure we're being safe. And the reason why I'm sitting this person out if they're not following the rules is for the majority of everyone's safety.
Right.
Because if we're not being safe, we can't listen to the rules and we can't play the games that we need to do in order to have fun and move in PE, as opposed to just having a notebook in the corner, writing in the notebook, and the kids have no idea what you're writing. You know what I'm saying? So you got to tell them why. You got to let them know how you're tracking it. Because if they don't know how you're tracking it, you're going to have a lot of upset kids that are going to get like phone calls home or not achieve as high as what they could have because they didn't know what exactly you were looking for. It's just like us when we had tests in school. We want to know exactly what's on the test.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to, all right, go read chapters 14 through 95 and I'll have a test on Friday. No, this is pages 22 to 27, these sections. Like, how are you tracking it? So definitely explain to them why, explain to them how it's going to be tracked. And then, like, everything with data is good when you have a pre and a post test.
Okay.
Meaning, like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a written test. You got to kind of tweak everything to the physical education aspect. You got to give, like, if you're going over soccer skills, like kicking, you might want to roll the ball out and have them just practice dribbling around the gymnasium with no instruction, just to see what they know. And it can be a mental checklist. It could be something you've written down over certain things that they might not know, because you might have a class full of Mia Hams, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody can play soccer. Like, okay, let's get into gameplay because you guys know what you're doing, but you might have a class that people are looking at the soccer ball like it's a foreign object, So it's one of those type of things. And the parent collaboration part. So you got why, how, your pre and post test, and then you want to tell parents what's going on.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's like if Turner has a newsletter that they send home.
I know they have a newsletter. I'm not 100% sure if it goes home, but it makes sense if it did. So,
right. And if you guys do it school wide, because every school that I've been to, they've done it school wide,
Right.
where there'll be like a small section in there for like your special subjects to let the parents know what's going on. If you're tracking data, especially with the heart rate steps or any opinions from the kids, let the parents know, hey, I'm giving the kids a survey to do this so they can let their kids know, like, no, you need to do it because you got those good parents that are going to stay on their kids to keep track of their heart rate, to keep track of their steps, or to be honest about opinions. And you might even get some parent opinions too.
Right.
I mean, obviously you have to look at those with like with the right lens, because some of them are going to be off the wall, especially in our area. But definitely parent collaboration has helped a lot. Shoot, I still got to hand out the parent surveys for the box program just to look at different things we can do better. So that's definitely but I definitely heart rate steps are good ideas, and I actually do the opinions one too.
Okay.
I do a pre thing with that too, like in the beginning of the year, right after our first or second lesson, I have the students come in and get a small sheet of paper and they'll write all the things they love to do. Just physical. And if you'll look and you'll see trends. You'll see a lot of boys saying football. Depending on where you are, like in Arlington, it was soccer. That was it. There was no basketball. They hated football. It was soccer. If we were playing soccer, these kids were serious. In street hockey. So it kind of depends on where you are, you know, and you can kind of base your yearly plan, your monthly plan around what they like to do, and then use that as an incentive. You know, hey, I know you guys love flag football, but we got to get through these first. And if whoever behaves in this weekend, you can do the flag football unit. Things like that. So it works out. I was reading the next section you had was responsibility for learning. I saw a lot in here that you have as for responsibility to learn, like the way they enter, which is transitions, how they play and treat their peers, which is like procedures and safety. And then you had some peer-to-peer interactions in here. Aside from like Rochambeau, which is a huge example for like an alternative way to solving a small disagreement, can you give me like another example for like responsibility for learning? Like, and this is a weird one because it's hard to sum up your responsibility for student learning, other than, you know, it's my job, you know. So can you give me like another example other than like Rochambeau? Yeah.
Let me see.
Because that's a responsibility for learning, but that's like the social emotional aspect. And when they talk about responsibility for learning, it's tough because they want to know like standard based. Like, what's your responsibility for learning for the throwing and catching unit? You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily for solving small problems.
I guess learning the like, I guess, minute ways of teaching when it comes to just basic stuff. So if it's like throwing, you know, that you can do hello and throw, but just like the step-by-step process to make sure they understand and grasp like certain things, and not automatically assuming that they know how to do stuff, or they may
got you.
they might not know how or why they're doing it that certain way, and giving them the proper way to do it will help them maybe make adjustments to be more successful.
I love that you said not assuming that everyone knows how to do it. That's the aspect that you really got to tap into. As PE teachers, we teach life skills.
Right.
And it's easy to get caught up in the life skills and forget about the physical movement portion. Like, you'll spend the majority of your class teaching life skills and only a small amount of your class teaching the actual skill. And that's the aspect that I know Miriam and Mike and just Miriam and Mike, really, they're going to be sticklers for sticking to the standards. Because in DCPS, especially, I don't know what the new evaluation system is going to look like at all, because they're changing it.
Right.
But they're really pushing towards making sure kids know what they need to know so that they can move on to the next level. And to be honest with you, it's stepping away from emotions. Like, kids they know how to take tests, but they can't have a conversation. And in PE, they throw all those kids who can't have a conversation right into the gym.
Right.
And we end up teaching a lot of the life skills in the gymnasium because they're steady just trying to get the numbers together in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to make sure that we stay with the skills. And that's the reason why I wanted to point that out for responsibility for learning. Because at the end of the day, learning, we're not necessarily, I wouldn't say not qualified, but that's not our job, really. You really got to understand all that life skills stuff that we do, which is 95% of the time in the gym, is not our job.
Right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, especially moving forward for next year. Just try your best to stick towards the skills and the life skill, like have 60% skills and 40% life skills, as opposed to like 75% life skills and 25% skills.
And that's
because that's how you
difficult to manage
go
at
ahead.
the end of the year, because if I can't get my
You got put in a tough situation with that. Yeah.
So it's like trying to find ways to help them listen to me so we can go quick life skills, be nice to one another. Now go kick the ball to a partner. You can't even sit down and, take the time to listen. I can't start the skill because you're going to kick each other.
Right.
But I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's with like your first 5 to 6 weeks in August and September. That's when you knock those life skills out so that you can start getting to the skill work. And then once you get your skill work, you go right into gameplay.
Right.
So you've got it. This year is just, you've got control of your class. I don't know how you did it, but it's really tough. I'm telling you. So understanding the cultural, ethnic and gender and learning differences. This is self-explanatory, I love the fact, and I still haven't been able to do this at Savoy because our SPED staff here. Just utilizing these school therapists and social workers to get a better understanding of students.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like a SPED department that is on board, that's awesome. To be able to like use the other adult professionals, that's their area, to let you know, hey, what do I need to do? Do I need to stand away from this kid? Do I need to use like a certain tone? Essentially what they're there for in the elementary school setting. And I haven't been able to do that at Savoy because we have an interesting group of people there, especially in that department. But utilizing that moving forward at Turner is going to be huge, especially with our background.
Okay.
I'm going to be taking that. I'm actually going to be using this over at Henley. I got to pick everyone's brain about all of the students that I'm going to be working with. So I think that's huge as far as like understanding everyone's learning differences. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have any other questions for me? I do have a connection for you. I talked to Mike Posey.
Okay.
I shot him a text because I seen here that you want to get more formal training for the medically fragile.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking, are you leaning towards like anyone who's like a wheelchair user or has like a cerebral palsy or like are you just anyone with just...
We have medically fragile at our school. We have about 8 kids who the majority of them are severely disabled with their wheelchair or they're in walkers, they're in a self-contained classroom, but they have to go to special or, they have to, so I get medically fragile on Thursdays. I get them with the pre-K class. So they don't even get their own time slot. So it's very different. I was speaking to one of them. They were saying a couple times a week their own adaptive PE teacher comes in. But since I came in at the end of the year, I don't necessarily know why they come to that particular class. But if I'm going to have them, I would like to engage with them the best that I can. But it's not like I can say, hey, you run over there or roll yourself over there and do X, Y, and Z. I can't expect them to interact with my PE, with my pre-K. Last week, actually, the pre-K, all ECE was on a field trip. And we had a great time just playing music. They were, able to be around the space. Actually, one of the young men who's wheelchair bound, he was able to catch a beach ball.
Oh, nice.
And just back to me. So we did that 50 times. But and if I'm going to continue to get them, I want to make sure that, number one, I'm interacting with them in an appropriate way. Number two, if somebody rolls up on me, they're not like, why are they sitting to the side? Type deal.
That's definitely like adaptive PE training that you need. You can even go 2 routes. Mike said that he can definitely set up a PD for that, one of the first PDs next school year, coming up with our monthly professional developments just on how to deal with students and different strategies. Because I've gone through adaptive PE training, but that was in Arlington.
Okay.
And they're like super modifications for everything. Like there's so many activities you can do for students who don't even have any use of their arms.
Nice.
You know, but there are experts, and you really those are situations where you can't read them. You either need video or you got to see these strategies because they're awesome. But I'm looking to that. If not, they with the PEAL, they're gonna have training for that anyway.
Okay.
In the PEAL fellowship. So if you get the PEAL fellowship, you're gonna receive that training regardless. But if not, George Mason has a program that DC may be paying for soon. I'm waiting to hear back from Mike.
Okay.
But you're definitely gonna get a PD days. They're gonna be geared strictly towards adaptive PE next year. So I know for a fact they're working on that now, and they're gonna continue working on that over the summer.
Great.
Your use of technology is kind of based on your school. Have you heard of Kids Power Bands?
I have not.
It's UNICEF Kids Power Bands, and it's a free program. I got it this year at Savoy, and they are they're almost Fitbits. They're almost like a short, cheaper route of Fitbits, and for every step you take, it raises money so that they can feed malnourished people in different countries, like Haiti. They got a lot of different countries that they can do. And I'll make myself a note to send you the link. But that'll get you free pedometers, and that'll get you a couple free tablets also. Like absolutely free to the school, as long as you participate in the program.
Okay.
It's huge, cute kudos for your CSC folder too.
Okay.
So it's an awesome situation. So I'll remind myself to send you that after we get off the phone today.
Thank you so much.
I think you're doing great. Just like you said, it's tough, especially with like professional learning and ethical practice. When as soon as you really develop a relationship with the kids and put your guidelines down and the kids really get to know you, it's time to go home. And like Turner going full year next year?
Yes. So we'll be back.
So you guys are coming back to school on the 8th?
Correct.
Yep, same thing with Henley. So yeah, shorter summer. So you'll be prepared. The kids will see you just like that, you know. Yeah. So that I think you're doing great. Did you have anything that I can do for you personally?
If you just know or get word of anything, they're sending me more PE stuff now, like via my email, but more learning opportunities that maybe I don't know, be it in DC or Virginia or something like that. Just keep updated because I'm just trying to absorb any books. I'm trying to absorb as much material so that I can be kind of like the best PE teacher that I can. And I guess, pretty much just pray for the ethical stuff because, I see different things when it comes.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of those things. I think that's one of the toughest parts of the job. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't necessarily know how to, I've never experienced like a co-teacher, like somebody that shares responsibilities with me. Just like with Playworks, it was just me. If somebody else didn't do it, I didn't care. But I have to share space and responsibility. It's different.
And that's honestly one of those like crucial, tough conversations that you're gonna have to have with your co-parts in the beginning of the year. And it can be easily done. Like it's one of those things if somebody's not gonna get on board and kind of do and put in the same effort as you, it's easy to just split things down the middle. Y'all have enough space where one person could be on one side, one person could be on another, and y'all don't bother each other. Or if y'all have classes at different times. But if y'all are gonna co-teach, like take a double class together, y'all have to be on the same page. Because not only will you feel it that y'all on the wrong page, but the kids are gonna notice. And when the kids notice, there's gonna be melee everywhere. And then you got records being messed up, and then you're gonna be lumped in with people that aren't necessarily doing their job.
Right.
So that's one of those crucial conversations that you definitely have to have. And I would definitely try to have 1 or 2 conversations with him before you go over his head.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one thing I would try to do. Because, you know, you might be there with him for a while. You don't know how it's going to go, you know?
True. I'm going to stop the
Yeah.
broadcast.